In the wake of the death of their extremely long-reigning monarch, Elizabeth II, the British have dealt with this stressful time by doing what the British love doing the most. They formed a line. The line to see Queen Elizabeth II lie in state at Westminster Hall, which Brits have affectionately dubbed the queue, grew so long that the government said Friday would have to temporarily prevent new people from joining it. Apparently, it's officially 5 miles long, which I imagine, like, unofficially, that means it's probably double that length, you know, which which is a large number of people. Sadly, the Queen is lying in state, but she is not, like Vladimir Lenin, preserved for all to see. You know, the good people of England are not walking by a large glass mausoleum with her body sitting out there. Unfortunately, you know, it's just a coffin that they're walking by. The character of the nation, right here.
Watch the Queen lying in state. I was now into the queue to watch the Queen lying in state.
I'm here because Her Majesty the Queen 20 years ago gave me this command of the Royal Victorian Order, and she put it around my neck, and that was a magic moment then.
Okay, if ever there was an excuse to go see the Queen lying in state, being like a 500-year-old dude who was given a medal by her 20 years ago seems like an okay, like, relatively speaking, like, okay, like, yeah, whatever, yeah, he can see her, yeah.
So lucky that the Queen did that, and I really want to come and say goodbye to her with all these people here, for their own individual reasons, want to say goodbye, probably to the greatest human being we have known in our life.
Never mind, I take it back. My charity has expired.
Certainly in my case. So that's why I'm here, and I'll stay here for 30 hours if I had to.
How many hours have you been here for?
I don't know, 7, 8, nothing.
Dude, you're old. You can't... Well, I hope he doesn't freeze to death.
I'm here because I thought this is a moment in history, and myself and my friends Anne-Marie and Irene, we decided in the last couple of days that we wanted to take the chance to come down and to pay our respects to the Queen and to say thank you and just to acknowledge this amazing event in history. Absolutely.
Sort of an odd way of phrasing the death of your monarch, right? You know, like, acknowledge this amazing moment in our history. It's like you're at Coachella.
We got here about 6 p.m.
Okay.
So I think we're going to get there before midnight, and I think we're doing really well.
And do you know what? The queue experience has been lovely.
Yeah.
We're in a beautiful city.
This is British people. You fucking your pathologies. Jesus Christ. Well, the Queen dine's a bit shit, innit? But the queue's amazing. Goes on miles and miles that way.
We're looking at a beautiful River Thames with all the buildings. We've met some lovely people.
Oh my fucking god. Isn't river dancing Irish? I feel like you shouldn't be allowed to do that while waiting to see the Queen of England.
Here, this is not a queue, this is a magical moment we're all sharing together.
I guess I'm happy this is happening in England and not anywhere else, because Americans are not biologically capable of forming a 5-mile line. Can you imagine a 5-mile line of Americans? That would be like a petri dish with conditions maximized for mass shootings. People would be like driving cars through the lines of people. There's no way, like, no shot at all. Yeah, a 5-mile line of Americans is called a riot line. It's a shield wall. The only way to form that many Americans in parallel next to each other is when they're facing down an equally long line of riot cops. Not a chance in the world. So, anyway, we've got a big old line, right? We also have this, a proposed solution.
I think I've finally got a solution for the Queen's coffin lining up problem. The problem that we're having really is that it's taking about 30 hours for people to get through it, that's just unconscionable. So I think the way that it's running right now is that people are queuing up either side of the coffin, and they're sort of doing their last respects. This is not efficient. We're giving the Queen has got a lot more surface area than we're giving her credit for. We need to get rid of this. So what I'm proposing is that we mount the Queen to a Kawasaki robotic arm, and we bust out all the windows in Westminster in the hall, and we we move the Queen around on the Kawasaki Arm so everyone gets a good view of her. And this way, I mean, the view, it's going to be quick, but you do get to see it. This way we can handle about, I think it's 80 mourners per second, so that's pretty good. We can handle the entire country of 67 million people within about 3 days. So that's pretty good. That's just in time for the funeral. Let me know what you think. I don't know if we want to get this off the ground, we're probably going to have to start pretty soon.
People say engineering students are reactionary, but I think this video is evidence that a reaction, an interest in engineering can actually be revolutionary, can be emancipatory if appropriately applied. So, like, let's be real for a second, okay? Let's make an effort to pull ourselves away from the sort of inherent comedy of the situation. This is deeply sick. If you take a look at British media right now, from the media officials to politicians to a bunch of them, the problem is that the Queen is treated as sort of a, like, let's be real here. They treat her like a living god. Well, previously living god. There has been a great effort on the part of liberals to pretend that the Queen doesn't really have any kind of, like, cultural power. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong or messed up with the democracy in England officially being by the grace of the Queen, and the Queen being the head of the Church of England, therefore being a literal God-chosen, like, agent of the Lord, and that being the thing from which your democracy spreads. You know, people have pretended that because of the sort of institutional calcification of English democracy, that, you know, the Queen being seen as a greater than person is it's not really an issue. Like, people like the Queen because she's cool and all, but they don't really see her as above a human. But that's not true, is it? Like, we all know that the Queen is widely seen by a great many British people as greater than human. We know that, right? That's why so many of them, when asked why they loved her, they sort of struggle to give any answer besides what you might expect somebody to answer with when asked why they like Jesus Christ, for example. You know, well, how do you describe a living God? Well, I mean, go look at the way they talk about her. Oh, she had such grace and poise. Oh, but what did you like about, like, what she actually do? Oh, well, she had this presence. You understand what I'm talking about, don't you? If I wanted to waste my time and yours, we could go through a litany of examples of this kind of sort of vague affection for the Queen, which indicates that there's something beyond her actual being that they're appreciating. Well, it's almost like she's a monarch and the head of the Church of England. You know, if you actually think about it for a second, why does it seem like they're valuing her for something beyond being a human? Well, oh, it's because she's a God-chosen monarch. Yeah, obviously. And I think it's deeply sick. I think it's repulsive. I don't have anything against, like, the idea of a cult of personality inherently. When Bernie Sanders dies, I imagine he'll have quite a large funeral, and I'm sure people will be moved deeply. But people are moved by Bernie Sanders because of his humanity, because he's a man. They see him as a man, as a human, next to them, who exceeded in his capacity. Whereas many people seem to think of the Queen as something beyond a woman, beyond a human, and that she's exceptional for that reason. Does that make any sense? Do you know what I mean when I say that there's a difference between a cult of personality based on the exceptional characteristics of an individual and a cult of personality based on a person being more than an individual human? I think those are two very different things, you know. It's the reason why I'm repulsed by many of the cults of personalities that you see in so-called communist countries, like in North Korea or in China with Mao, you know, where it's not like be real. It's not just that they think like Mao or Kim Jong-un are exceptional people, you know. They're worshipped as deities, you know. Let's be real here. So anyway, I think it's repulsive and I don't like it. Let's talk about some other things that I don't like. So the good fine people of England have decided. Oh, sorry, one of those videos almost autoplayed. The good fine people of England have decided that the only way to commemorate the death of their beloved monarch is to spread misery and suffering across the the Isles. Just sort of distribute the suffering finely in a thin dust. so it can be consumed and experienced by all of her subjects. Hospital appointments, funerals, theater performances, museums, retailers, and food banks closed on Monday, which is tomorrow. Now, I saw a particular message, or a tweet thread, I mean, of a person who had a cancer screening appointment on Monday, and now because it's canceled, they just are going to have to wait several months for their cancer. Yes, Loeen, when I first saw this, I thought that it was a joke as well. The idea of shutting down essential services like food banks and hospitals to commemorate the funeral of your queen. I mean, again, folks, have us Americans ever had a mass hospital closing because of the death of a former president? If we have, I don't know about it. I think for the most part, our facilities continue to run even when our important people die. Obviously, there's something special and different about the monarch, isn't there? I mean, I certainly know that when Boris Johnson dies or whatever, they're not going to be like, a day of mourning, shut the hospitals down. It's repulsive. I'd be so pissed as a taxpayer, holy shit. Because you well should be. A lot of people are going to suffer on account of this, obviously. The Queen's funeral has led to the cancellations of all those things. Several NHS trusts, including Bedfordshire Hospitals, Norfolk and Norwich University Hospitals, and the Aneurin Bevan Health Board in Gwent, were among the first to confirm the cancellation of planned appointments on Monday. So to be clear, this isn't a government mandate. They did not order them all to shut down. This is the fine people of Britain independently deciding to close off the hospitals in honor of the funeral. And it's not just a few either. I mean, this is happening all over the place. Emergency, urgent, and cancer services will still go ahead in these areas and others, but only a reduced routine service will run. I'm hearing mixed on this, by the way. I've heard a lot of people saying that this is kind of a variable thing. Operations canceled include hip and knee replacements, cataract surgeries, maternity checks. Oh, and some cancer treatments. Oh, okay, so cancer services. Well, there we go. So apparently cancer services doesn't include cancer treatments, not even screenings, but treatments. The cancellations will add to the mounting hospital waiting list that hit a record high of 6.8 million people in July. Phenomenal stuff right there. Fantastic. Wonderful. Funeral directors. A number of food banks will be closed on Monday. At least hospitals aren't essential services. Of course, the British people are not uniformly accepting of this. When I was called and told all appointments that day are cancelled, I got off the phone and cried, Dan O'Brien, who is 8 months pregnant, told NBC News. Trans man? Is Dan a woman's name ever? Oh, whatever. Based either way, I suppose. Yeah. It began with soccer, Britain's beloved national sport. Then flights into London's Heathrow Airport were cancelled out of respect for Queen Elizabeth, drawing weary sighs from critics. Shutting down flights, by the way. Not great. It's essential infrastructure. At the time of the late monarch's funeral Monday, the UK will have come to a near standstill, with most businesses shuttered and thousands of events cancelled across the countries. But for some relying on Britain's cherished National Health Service, already creaking with long delays, or other services like food banks, the cancellations seem like too high a price to pay in a country grappling with a cost of living crisis. Well, they use she, her pronouns for Dan O'Brien, so I guess it's just a very particular name. Said she had waited 3 weeks to get an appointment at a specialized maternity unit because she has type 1 diabetes and her pregnancy is considered high risk. But this week she was told her Monday appointment had been canceled because of the national holiday declared for the funeral. I only have 6 to 7 weeks until I have my baby, so I feel like I'm running out of time to get the help I need before it becomes too much, said the publishing executive from Chelmsford, a small town around 40 miles northeast of London. said she could be seen by a doctor next week, but she could be delayed due to a clash in appointments. Chemotherapy patient had a COVID booster. Carefully timed around my treatment. Now canceled. Can't rebook for weeks. Just hope I stay safe. Yeah. There are a lot of articles on this. Yeah. Vaush, you can't talk shit about the monarchy when American democracy is a mess. Oh, actually, I can. Because you know what's worse than a messy democracy? A f***ing monarchy, actually, in a materialist sense. No, not as though your democracy isn't messy too, by the way. But no, this is truly sickening. Oh, here's another good one. Extremely scary or respectful. Wave of cancellations and closures for Queen Elizabeth II's funeral is drawing fire for stopping daily British life. You probably get the gist of an article, but with that title. The real message I want to convey through all of this, really, is the kind of, I think, national psychological pathology of the British people. I am ideologically opposed to the monarchy. I think I've made that incredibly clear with my stream. And this is one of the reasons why, I think. I genuinely don't know what kind of brain damage you would have to have as a hospital director, or whatever the term would be for a person who decides whether it stays open or closed, manager, CEO, for them to go like, oh, Queen's dead, innit? Better shut down, and then just cancel the appointments. Like that is genuinely exceptional to me. Right now, the British are already going through a tremendous amount of hardship, and I want to dispel with the jokes for just a second. Like, there are people posting images of monthly energy bills that go into the 4 digits on social media. The energy crisis, exacerbated with a poor government response and predation on the part of the the utility companies, is strangling the fine British people. And I don't know, man. It's like, it's about national priorities. And this has always been a f***ing problem, hasn't it, right? Like, nation states will shell out billions when it comes to the execution of ceremony while people starve. I mean, this has been a thing long before, like, modern democracies. This is like a nation state issue. This is an anything issue. This is a government issue, really. But very rarely is it conducted in this fashion, you know? If there's anything that I do genuinely like about the American government, it's the fact that, for the most part, we are relatively light on pomp and circumstance, you know? The president just wears a suit. The head of state, it's just he wears a suit. There's a matter-of-factness to a lot of American ceremony that I appreciate. A lot of this is because we're a young country, which means that we didn't have, like, because the British have been around for so long as a country, so they have time to build up these traditions, and we sort of minimize them to a great extent. There are a lot of things we don't do in this country that we could do if we wanted to. Military parades, for example. I hold these in very low regard as well, and they're kind of a hallmark of authoritarian countries for a good reason. Obviously, the United States still has plenty of ceremony, but I think there's a kind of blunt matter-of-factness here that I find almost a little bit refreshing. Or I guess, to put it another way, I hate how militarized the police are, but I'm glad that the police are only militarized and not militarized while also being decorated. Does that make any sense? If cops are going to be loaded up and... Can you pay attention? Christ, guys. You people are so easily baited. 1 hour. Shush. Anyway, do you understand what I mean when I say I'm glad they're not militarized and decorated? Like, if the police are going to be dressed up to the nines with guns and a SWAT vest and everything, I'm glad they don't also have some ceremonial, like, cape or whatever the I think that institutions are a lot more difficult to criticize when they're draped in ceremony, because the purpose of ceremony, the reason ornamentation exists is to lend additional cultural weight to institutions, right? This is the reason why Catholic churches look the way they do. The incredible wealth that went into the construction of Catholic churches wasn't done for its own sake, you know. It was done in large part because the political power of the Catholic Church was cemented and reinforced by the appearance of their facilities, you know? Because if you're some like medieval peasant and you visit a city like 3 times in your life, and one time you peek inside a door and see this, and the only thing you see in day to day is like cow shit and iron tools, like with wood pegs to use them from, you know. Yeah, you're going to think God exists. Yeah, you'll believe in God. What does a house of God look like if not this, right? Ornamentation cements institutions. It makes it really, really, really difficult to criticize them. And what if not that do you see here, right? The queen is draped in ornamentation. The royal family, the monarchy, draped in ornamentation. And it makes it so, so, so difficult, I think, for a lot of British people to see it with the sort of the candidness um, that they might otherwise. So right now, the British people are suffering tremendously, not just from their cancellations, not just from the energy crisis, but also from their addled faculties. And I sincerely hope that in the wake of Elizabeth's death, anti-monarchical sentiment grows in that country, because I do not think it's healthy at all for the national culture, and not in any fashion at all. Even if you did believe the Queen brought stability, surely there's a better way to instill national security than a hereditary bloodline with absolutely no criteria whatsoever, barring people's ascension to power. All right, you caught me. Don't you clap. The only reason you're clapping right now is because I had to draw your attention back towards me because you were all getting baited by that person. It's like the excess sustains its meaning. Well, it's like a fundamentally anarchic political position, right? Everything the leader does to elevate themselves above you is something they're using as an implicit argument to justify their power, you know? When if you take away all the ornamentation, if there's a leader, you know, take them from their perch, remove them from their castle, take away their golden scepter and crown, you know, and you're just standing there looking at them like at level-eyed, you know, they're just another person, aren't they? And they have so much power over your life. And once you strip away all the ornamentation, you know, there's the justification for their power. It just seems a lot less you know, convincing.